Okay, so your warm-up, true or false? The question is the equation true or false? Explain your reasoning. So the equation that we have reads as follows. 3 times the sum of 12 and 5 equals the product of 3 times 12 and 3 times 5. And I want to remind you again that it's written in stars on your computer, and that just means multiplication. So if I were to rewrite it using the multiplication dot, the right side would read as the product of 3 times 12 and 3 times 5. So that's what we have on our right side. And on our left side, we have 3 times the sum of 12 and 5. Oh, this lead pencil. Okay. So, I want to remind you that the parentheses means a little group. That this is a little group, 3 times 12, times this other group, 3 times 5. Okay? That is important because here, this tells me that this group, the sum of 12 and 5, all of that times 3. And I want to remind you that this is the distributive property. We learned that this can be drawn with an area model where it's 3 times 12 plus 5. And to find the area of this rectangle, now I have to do 3 times 12 and 3 times 5. So you're going to see that parentheses means a little group, and it also means multiplication. So this is the same thing as 3 times 12, and this is the same thing as 3 times 5. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to show this multiplication in the equation. So I'm just going to rewrite the equation again so that you can see 3 times the sum of 12 and 5. All I'm doing is rewriting the entire equation again, times the product of 3 times 12 and 3 times 5. And the reason why I am doing that, is because I have to, I'm going to show this in the equation. So we did 3 times 12, and we used arrows when we learned this in Unit 6. And 3 times 5. Okay? So if I were to rewrite that here, that's 3 times 12 plus 3 times 5. And that in the equation says equals to the product of 3 times 12 and 3 times 5. Okay? Now, before I continue doing the multiplication, the adding, I can pause for a second and look at this equation. I'm going to take a blue highlighter. I noticed that the numbers are the same. I have 3 times 12 when I have 3 times 12 here. I have 3 times 5, and I have 3 times 5 here. And I notice that the only difference here is that on the left side, there is a plus. I'm adding 3 times 12 plus 3 times 5. On the right side, I am multiplying. And that tells me, because these operation, because this is adding and this is multiplication, I know the equation will be false. So what I mean by that is, I know here if I do 3 times 12, I'm going to get a number. If I do 3 times 5, I'm going to get another number. Even though I don't know what these numbers are, I know I'm going to be adding them because that's what it says in the equation. And it says equals right here. 3 times 12 will give me a number. 3 times 5 will give me another number. And I am going to be multiplying them. So, because this is adding the two numbers and this is multiplying the two numbers, I know that they will not be equal. To prove it, let's go ahead and solve it. 3 times 12 I know is 36. 3 times 5 is 15. So therefore 3 times 12 is 36 and 3 times 5 is 15. Okay. Same numbers, 36 and 15, 36 and 15, but on the left they're being added and on the right they're being multiplied. If I add 36 and 15, I get 51. Bring down my equal sign. 36 times 15 is 540. And does 51 equal 540? No, it doesn't. So I'm going to take my red marker and put a big dash through the equal sign. So my final answer needs to be written in a sentence. So I'm going to take another paper and I am going to write here my final answer. The equation is false because on the left side, the numbers are being added. On the left side, the numbers are added. And on the right side, the numbers are multiplied.